Welcome, and thank you for joining us on this first day of August. Please sit back and enjoy our first song. The title is I Am Worthy, and it's actually one of my originals. I am worthy, I'm important, there is only one me. I am special, I am loved, I am who I'm meant to be. I am whole, I am healthy, I have all that I need. I am strong, I am powerful, just watch me succeed. You are worthy or important, there is only one you. You are special, you are loved, you do what you're meant to do. You are whole, you are healthy, you have all that you need. You are strong, you are powerful, I watch you succeed. We are worthy, we're important, there is only your love. We are special, we are loved, we receive what we see. We are whole, we are healthy, we have all that we need. We are strong, we are powerful, just watch us succeed.
Let us begin with prayer. Heavenly Mother, Father God, we give you thanks for the gift of our life and the gift of another day. We acknowledge that there is only one presence and one power, and that is God, the good, the allness. We know that we are part of this allness. We say thank you for our connection to you and our connection to one another. We choose this morning to be aware and awake to all that is placed in our path today, to all that is placed in our path so that we can truly manifest God and the kingdom of heaven here on earth. We look around at each other and we see our brothers and sisters, and we acknowledge truly in our heart that this is a benevolent universe. It is supporting us, and we are part of this goodness and this kingdom of heaven right here and right now. We say thank you. Thank you in the name of this one Spirit that lives and moves and breathes in and through all. Amen.
Let us affirm our abundance together. Unity in the 7 hills is abundantly blessed. Creative people are drawn to us. Divine ideas flow through us. Financial resources bless us, and we accomplish mighty works together. Now our mission statement. Unity in the 7 hills is a vibrant, inclusive community that inspires individual spiritual growth through education, prayer, heart connection, and sacred service. And our vision statement. Centered in spirit, we see a world transformed by divine love, where innovative solutions are celebrated and all needs are met. Please stand and join us in singing our second song, Open My Eyes That I May See. Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Place in my hands a wonderful key that shall unclasp and set me free. Our unity principle of the week is the first principle. God is all there is and is present everywhere. This is the force of love and wisdom that underlies all of existence. Let's say that together. God is all there is and is present everywhere. This is the force of love and wisdom that underlies all of existence. And our special announcement. And I think 3 keys. I don't know what we were doing there. And now let us bless our youth together. You are a perfect child of God, and God and I love you just the way you are and wherever you are. And now join us if you'd like to stand up, singing This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And more. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And now Ari's going to come up and read our daily word and do the special readings for today.
Good morning. A little low for me. All right. Daily word today is radiance. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. On a clear day when a stray cloud passes across the sun, I notice the suddenly diminished light. Then looking up, I see brilliant rays of sunshine surrounding the cloud. Instead of hiding the sun, the cloud helps me see and appreciate the sun's radiance. As the sun lights the earth and is the source of its energy, the Christ, the divine presence within me, is my light and the source of everything that I need in order to live brilliantly and joyfully. When, like a passing cloud, an obstacle or challenge along my path may seem to dim my Christ light, I respond by looking up, by raising my point of view. I am reassured and strengthened knowing that the divine radiance is shining as brightly as ever. No cloud can dim the divine light in me. And John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. And then today's special reading, our scripture today is Matthew 6:9-13. Pray then in this way, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from evil. And then I tried to find some good quotes for you on the Lord's Prayer, which is hard because a lot of them are super Catholic, and I want to try and keep it in a unity vein. So what I found is St. Maximus the Confessor says, through these words, he has revealed the hidden treasures of wisdom and knowledge that exist in him as pure form. And in all who offer this prayer, he kindles a desire to enjoy such treasures. And from Dion Fortune, this one gets a little metaphysical. The closing cause of the Lord's Prayer is pure Kabbalism. Malkuth, the kingdom, Hod, the glory, Netzach, the power, form the basal triangle of the tree of life, with Yesod, the foundation or receptacle of influences, as a central point. Whoever formulated that prayer knew his Kabbalah.
Our Father, who art in heaven, forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. I have a little something to say about Paula before she starts her talk. I've known Paula Mills since my family moved to Lynchburg in September 2009. Preston was 6 and Max was only 3. I wanted to attend a Unity church largely so the boys could get a religious and spiritual education. For the first few years, Mary Sue Purcell was the family and youth education coordinator, and then Paula helped the kids through the transition as Mary Sue moved on from that position. Paula has been a prayer chaplain, a teacher, and a friend to me. But most importantly, she's been a mentor and a teacher for my boys. Preston started backing away from the church by the age of 13, but not before being exposed to Unity principles and feeling the unconditional love and support of a church family. Both he and Max worked through the Cub Scout curriculum to earn their Unity religious pin, and Max later earned his Boy Scout religious emblem with Paula's help. She has done an exceptional job providing structure, a feeling of safety, numerous opportunities for service, and a foundation of Unity teachings for our youth. Planning lessons and activities for children ranging from toddlers to teens has been challenging to say the least, but she has met that challenge for many years. Now Preston has graduated from high school and is moving on to college, and I'm very glad, even though he's a self-proclaimed atheist, he can still apply the spiritual principles he learned at church as he moves through adulthood. Paula has been a huge supporter of Max, who has grown tremendously since he walked through these doors as a 3-year-old. She supported him through his Eagle Scout process and attended his ceremony. She has cheered him on while he played soccer for his school. She took him to a Unity YOU weekend workshop, and especially in the last few years, as the kids have gotten older, she's provided many opportunities for them to share their thoughts and feelings, their talents, use their creativity, and have lots of fun. From my family and from this amazing church family, we thank you for your years of service for our youth, and we know that you're not going anywhere. Regina and I plan to continue YOU activities in the coming years and know that you will remain a part of these children's lives as they too move into adulthood. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Erica.
And Leslie made you a card,
Oh,
and people have signed it. And if anybody hasn't had a chance to sign it, please do that after church.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Would you set it
Yeah.
on the bench? I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to make the comment that only Erica could have sung that rendition of the Lord's Prayer. I'm glad we didn't have to sing it with you. Or we would have dropped out after the first line. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I appreciate it, and on the other hand, I usually dread it because it's some work to put it together. But always, I appreciate it because it gives me a time to look at where I am and to analyze what has gone on since the last time I spoke, what my challenges are, and what I'm doing about them, how I'm applying unity principles to my life. And I have a very dear mentor and friend that makes cards. And she is still making these cards, and she has a card ministry, and sending out cards even though she is legally blind. But the last one that I received from her was absolutely perfect. It made me chuckle but it summed up really what I'm talking about today. And there's a picture of people dancing, and their arms are up and down, and here's what the card says. I was addicted to the hokey pokey, but then I turned myself around. And when you turn the card on the back, this is what she wrote. Is there something that you need to turn around, such as negative thinking, lack of faith, poor self-image, a strained relationship, bad attitude, or something else? Today could be the day to make a fresh start. Just put your right foot in and call on God. And that pretty much sums up where I've been over the last couple of months. If you're like me, things go along very well in your life for a while, and then all of a sudden, you deal with some challenges. And I find that for myself, most of the challenges are things to do with people. As I laughingly say, I love humanity, but it's people that give me trouble. And I think the story of this church is just sort of a microcosm into the universe. And I think things that go on in the church are, we're just a little group, but we're just like the entire world. And so I find that things go along in the church, and I truly believe that, and I've come to realize very recently, that I think that Sandy and I are probably the oldest members of the church who have been here the longest, who have stuck with the church through thick and thin, and have remained active in all the years that we've been members, which is about 25 years. We haven't, despite ups and downs, changes of ministers, some major issues that have gone on at various times, differences of opinion, and these are all things that happen in life, whether they happen, they happen in church, but they're also happening in life, every place, in your workplace, in politics, everywhere. The ups and the downs, changes, differences of opinion, changes of leadership, all of this stuff goes on in life. But we've stuck with things despite whatever was going on. And the last couple of months have been a perfect example of that to myself. Things were going along just fine, and then all of a sudden, whether this was real or imagined, it doesn't matter, but there were some strange relationships with people within the church. There was a feeling that, do you ever have this feeling that no matter what you do, you can't win? That negative thinking, that feeling within myself, well, this is it, I'm leaving. I've gone through this for 25 years, not only here, but throughout life. I'm going to give up. I just give up on people. And that's where I was. And I floundered around there for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden, I gave it some thought, and I thought, you know what? Nothing is going to disturb my peace. I made a decision within myself some time back that that's what it was all about. It was choosing to be a peaceful person and allowing other people to be where they were and to move on from there. Just as we lift up ourselves, we lift up the rest of the world. That's how it works. We're all connected. That's part of our unity principles and our belief system. And again, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Paula, are you going to give up on life, or are you going to truly believe that the 5 unity principles work if you work them? And I believe that when we make an intention and decide in our hearts of hearts that we want something, we want to bring it forth, we believe in it, that the universe aligns itself to help us. And that is exactly what happened. It all started by my choice and my decision. And in this decision, I decided that I would iron out some misunderstandings with different people, and I made phone calls, and I had talks, and I laughingly decided that with all of this, I gave myself like a B. or maybe a B plus because of the intention in working things out with other people who had different thoughts as me. But it has to start somewhere. And when we believe in living in a peaceful world with people that have maybe different political ideas or religious ideas or whatever, we have to listen, and then we have to speak, and we have to find a peaceful place to be. And sometimes that peaceful place is just agreeing to disagree about some things. But it was okay, and I was glad I made the effort, because I could have just retreated and not, because always I want to do that isolation thing and just believe that I'm right and that's it. But I made that intention that I was going to be peaceful and I would do my part to make a peaceful world. And I found that the universe aligned itself, and it sent me several things. The first thing it sent me, this was a miracle, I thought. I have been searching for a particular prayer for at least 15 years. And it was a prayer that was used often in the church when I was first a member. I don't know where it came from and what the origins of it are. So Sandy and I will be reading this at the very end of my talk. And I can't give credit to where it came from because I don't know. It was the prayer that we used in church, always during the burning bowl. And I had 1 million copies of it because we used it at the burning bowl, and every year I'd save my copy. Well, somehow I ended up with no copies. And so I've been looking for this prayer, and I've asked many people, people that have been in the church for a long time, Leanne, for example. Leanne, do you remember that prayer we used to say at the burning bowl? Well, she didn't remember it. And I asked several ministers whether they remembered it or knew what I was talking about. Nobody did. So I've been looking for it for a long time. Well, several weeks ago, I was down in the Sunday school room, the storage area of the Sunday school room, griping because we cleaned up the area. Now there was more stuff in the middle of the room, and I had to clean this mess up. And me and Sandy are down there cleaning it up. And there was a folder, and I picked up the folder, and I opened it. Guess what? The prayer was there. I think that maybe I put the prayer in that folder many years ago and don't remember having done it. I'm not sure. But it appeared. So I thought this has appeared to me because I'm supposed to use this, and I'm supposed to share this. So I will today. The other thing that influenced me was a website that was on, it was actually a reading that was on the Truth Unity website. And I was not aware of this website until probably about a year ago. But for whatever reason, one evening I decided I was going to look on that website and see what was there, because I really hadn't investigated it. And there was an article called The Fourth Dimension Plus. And it was written by someone in Unity who was actually part of Unity sales, the sales of different literature and things, written back in 1931. But it was so timely today. And I will share about that as I talk about what the influences were to help me change my decision to not retreat and not give up on humanity and other people, and again, be able to find that spot to be a peaceful person. The first thing I want to talk about is the Lord's Prayer. And why I think this is important is because it is a common denominator of all Christian churches. And many people don't know, and will ask you oftentimes, whether Unity is Christian. Because they know that we do things a little differently and we see things a little differently. But Unity, yes, Unity is a Christian religion. How we do look at things is a little bit different because we look at things metaphysically, not literally. So when you look at the Lord's Prayer, the beauty of the Lord's Prayer is it meets people on whatever level they are. We can look at it literally, but we also can look beyond that into the implications of the words. And how many of you have said the Lord's Prayer at various times in your life? Grew up in the Catholic Church. It was read as part of the service. It was also read as part of the service, the Unity service, for quite a number of years. At some point, it was dropped out of the Unity service as something we read every week. How many times have I said it as part of a church service? How many times have I said it as part of a 12-step group? How many times have I said it in the dentist office or under, really, many times I've said it in the dentist's office or under some other major time of challenge. Oftentimes in the past, I have said it by rote. More recently, I have said it thoughtfully. But one of the things I did in preparing the services, I went to a book that I have been meaning to look at relook at after many years, called The Sermon on the Mount, that was written by Emmett Fox in 1934. Very interesting, his interpretation, and a lot of what I have to say are things that I learned from that book, and then some of them are just my own thoughts about the Lord's Prayer. But looking at the Lord's Prayer, we can look at it on just a basic level of what the people of Jesus' time were probably thinking when that prayer came into existence. Many people of traditional religions believe that it was written by Jesus and taught to his disciples. There was a group of people that you may or may not know about called the Jesus Seminar. And they met across a period of about 20 years. And this was in the late 80s into the turn of the century, and they met until about 2006. And it was a group of people that knew a lot about the Bible. And they were not just people of one religious, they were people across the world that were true Bible scholars, knew a lot about the original language that the Bible was written in. They knew about other spiritual writings of the time, the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were a group of true scholars, led under a man named Robert Funk. And their group met twice a year, and their whole plan was to discuss the teachings of Jesus, the fundamental teachings of Jesus, and make a decision in their belief whether or not certain things in the Bible were actually spoken by Jesus or whether they weren't. And they took a vote on each passage in the Bible, and they gave it a rating. And their feeling about the Lord's Prayer is that this was not something that was actually a quotation of Jesus, that it was written in the mid-first century, at about just 50 or 60 or 70 years after Jesus' death. And that the oldest edition that they have, a written edition of the Bible, is actually about 175 years after Jesus' death. Now, I find this all very interesting, but it truly only means but so much, because, of course, Jesus was a wonderful and great teacher, and I think he did see way beyond the people of his time. But our own inner guidance guides us to many truths also. And the disciples of Jesus certainly were influenced by their inner Christ voice that was influencing them. But I still find it very interesting to look at what the Jesus Seminar thought as far as the words of the Lord's Prayer. They did feel that quite a lot of the phrases in the Lord's Prayer were phrases that were used by Jesus, but they don't think it was all assembled in the beginning as a prayer that he taught to his disciples. Unity Church uses metaphysical Bible interpretation, and I love this because Unity sees the Bible as our story, a story of the unfolding of our own consciousness. And each of us can interpret the Bible. And what a Bible passage means is what it means to me today. My interpretation tomorrow might be different than it is today because I'm at a different place tomorrow than maybe I am right now. And each of us can interpret anything that's in the Bible. We don't need the minister or the priest or anyone else to interpret that. It's what it means to us today, and allowing your inner voice to guide you through that interpretation. So let's look for a few minutes at the Lord's Prayer, Our Father. Well, we can look at that on just a conscious, literal level. It's unknown really whether Jesus said "our" or whether he said "Father," but he did use the word Abba, which is a familiar term, as in the relationship with a father to its offspring is a loving, typical loving relationship. And that is our relationship with God the Father. This also implies that we are like the Father, because a dog does not give birth to a cat. So obviously, if God is spirit and divine, we are the offspring, we are spirit and divine. So that's, looking beyond that and really truly what that means. Think about the first unity principle, because the first part of the Lord's Prayer is all about the first and second unity principles. Our Father, which art in heaven. Well, the nature of God is to be in heaven. The nature of man is to be on earth. And what that means is cause and effect. God is the cause. We are the manifestation. So if you think about it in Bible kind of lingo, heaven means the presence of God. When we think of it metaphysically, we think of the cause as being that absolute allness and beingness. Well, cause cannot manifest. Well, cause is just cause. To actually be manifested, there must be man. There must be some way that the cause can have an effect, and we are the effect. We are the manifestation of the cause. So you see the relationship. This makes so much sense when we think about it, even if we want to be an atheist or an agnostic, and we want to see things more on a scientific level. This is so much like quantum physics, and believe in the Big Bang Theory. There was a cause, and then something happened after the cause. So we can believe this. It makes good sense. It makes more sense than if you look up at the clouds. There's this place up in the clouds called heaven, which is what I believed as a child. But I believe that that's why a lot of people are turning their way from church these days, because they don't see beyond that idea that God is a person in the clouds. They can't see beyond that. But that's the beauty of New Thought, that we see it really more on a scientific level. It's scientific, but it's also spiritual. It's all together, and it makes sense. It goes right along with scientific teachings. Hallowed be thy name. How many times have we recited that just by rote and not really thought about what that meant? Hallowed be thy name. Wholeness, allness, that is the name of God. And we do give a lot of lip service to that, I do. But when I really think about that and think about wholeness, well, if God's nature is wholeness and allness, why would anybody think that bad things happen in life that we label bad. Oh, well, God allowed this to happen so I would grow. Or, why does God allow war? Well, the truth is, God doesn't create war. And God doesn't make bad things happen or give us challenges in our life so that we'll grow. Because God's very nature is allness and wholeness. In allness and wholeness, there is no sickness. There is no war. It's only good. There's only that one presence. So none of that is anything that's manifest by God. But we are the manifestation. So we are the creative forces. As part of this, God being cause, man being effect, or manifestation. That's part of what we are allowed to do. We are given powers. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, what that means, how many of you in your life at some point, now or previously, have thought, oh, why am I here? What's my purpose here on earth? Am I supposed to become a great musician? Am I supposed to become a great writer? Am I supposed to be the perfect parent? Why am I here? Well, the reason we're all here, we all have the same mission here on the planet, individualized, yes. But our mission is to be God here on earth, to allow the kingdom of God to exist here on earth. And that is through our creative powers. And that's really the only reason why we're here. So it's not really important how much money we make or whether we're the perfect musician or whether we're, how much we accomplish by the time we leave this planet. None of that is really important. The important thing is that we are manifesting all that God is. And God is all. So we are manifesting that today because there is no other time. There's only now. So I think this is really important because it has just such creative, when we think about that creation. Emmett Fox said, and this really opened my eyes a lot. Emmett Fox made the statement that God has individualized its consciousness in that it has created an infinite number of focal points of consciousness. And that means each of us. We're an individual point of consciousness. And we're each unique, but yet we are not separate. So if we're not separate, we're one. Well, how can oneness, how can two things that are one be different or we're not separate, but how can we each have different experiences? Oneness, how can things be one but not be the same? It doesn't make any sense on the physical planet. On this physical plane, it makes no sense. If two things are one, how can they be different? But they are in the invisible, infinite plane of infinite beingness. And I think that has a lot to do with what is beyond these three dimensions that we live in. And right now, this is where we are. But we have to see beyond this. I think in living our life, if we truly believe this is all true, we have to look beyond the three-dimensional plane that we're in right now. What I found was very interesting is that Emmett Fox's words in his book, Sermon on the Mount, when he was talking about the Lord's Prayer, he said that in this, God had to make individual points of consciousness and make them each unique, even though we're not separate. Because otherwise there would only be one experience. And as we know, each of us is having an individual experience. That struck me, number one, because truly we don't know, we can't be in anybody else's shoes. And so sometimes I think when I judge other people or think what they ought to be doing, I'm not in their shoes. I'm not in their body. I'm not in their head. I have not had the exact same experiences. So I have to understand that people are having their own individual experience. Emmett Fox says that there are an infinite number of universes because each of us creates our own universe by our own individual thinking. Well, that's true. We all have the power of creation. And again, to me, that goes right along with what I've learned about quantum physics. There are theories about parallel universes. In my house, in my father's house, there are many rooms. And I think, oh my gosh, it goes right along with the idea of quantum physics. And the idea that I have learned in quantum physics about when particles become very small and pieces of particles and all that kind of stuff, that if you try to measure where they are, you can't actually measure them until they aren't in any particular place until you try to measure them. The observer is the one that places where they are. In other words, in the infinite realm, they are in no particular place because that is a realm and a dimension beyond what we see, beyond our 3 dimensions. So there are many universes. We are each unique, but we are all together as one. I think the part of the Lord's Prayer that disturbs people is the part, forgive us. Well, let me get back to that. But the part that people are disturbed by is the part about lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. I think if you simply put the word you in front of that, you lead us not into temptation. Again, there's different interpretations of that. The part, give us this day our daily bread, I do the same thing. You give us this day our daily bread. Again, realizing that this was written by people many thousands of years ago, and the experience that they were having, which is not the same experience each of us is having. The Jesus Seminar did not think that that part was written by Jesus. They thought that that was a part that was added in by the Catholic Church many years after Jesus' crucifixion. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Again, that's not part of the original prayer. It's not in the Gospels. But it's a perfect sum up of the Lord's Prayer. And we all believe that there is only one presence and one power. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. The part that is the part that divides the men from the boys is forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Oh boy, that's the hard part. Are we really going to forgive those who have harmed us? That's really the stumbling point of the whole Lord's Prayer. But there's no use even saying the Lord's Prayer if you're not going to do it. Forgiveness is very difficult at times, but it doesn't need to be. I think if you really look at things beyond this dimension and really see our connectedness, why would we not forgive our hand? Why would we not forgive our foot? We're all part of this oneness. We're all part of the wholeness. We're all points of consciousness, but each of us are having a different experience in the confines of these 3 dimensions. When I look at it that way, I find it very easy to forgive. I might grapple with it for a short period of time. Why did they do such and such? And I know I'm right. And I'm right, and I'm right. And I want to be right. But when I really look at it beyond that and see that we're each having a different experience, it's very easy to give people the benefit of the doubt. We each do the best we can with what we have at the time. And just realize that people are at different places in their point of experience. I love the way that Emmett Fox puts the idea of forgiveness. He says the easiest way is to, number one, make that intention. You say to yourself, I freely forgive X. And I freely forgive X, and I loose them and put them, and this whole idea of forgiveness and this whole business of whatever has caused you to feel you need to forgive someone, into the hands of Spirit and into the Christ. And I just put this in the hands of the Christ, and I feel free. And this other person is now free too. We are free, and we can go on. And at that point, you do not repeat that again. You do it once, you let it go, you walk away from it, and you say, it is finished. And isn't that what Jesus did when he was on the cross? It is finished. It was let go. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So I think that's really, I try not to allow myself to waste a whole lot of time holding grudges against people. Yes, I do it for a while. I let myself do it and think I'm right for a little while, and then I move beyond that, because otherwise I'm just stuck, and I want to retreat from the world. And the truth is, we can't retreat from the world. Each of us is connected. We can't. We're all connected to the web of life. And everything we do, everything we think, it connects with everybody else, and it's going to have an effect on the entire universe, whatever we do. So I'm ready to be a peaceful person, and I'm ready to move to that point. The Lord's Prayer was important enough in the Bible that it was mentioned in two different places. The writing is in Matthew, and it's also in Luke. And it looks a little different in both of those places in the Bible. The main ideas are the same. And when we look at Bible interpretation, depending on what translation you're using, it looks slightly different. But none of it really matters, because the main core of it is universal. And the main core of it and the main ideas in it are seen in other religions, whether they call it the Lord's Prayer or whether they don't. It exists everywhere. Truth is everywhere present. We see it reflected in other religions. We see it reflected in nature. We see it reflected in science. This article that I read that is on the Truth Unity site, it really summed up a lot of these ideas in the Lord's Prayer and helped me look beyond this three-dimensional thinking, because it talked about 7 dimensions, although E.V. Ingram actually believes there's 14 dimensions, because he thinks that the 7 that he talks about are more about physical manifestation, but then there's the realm of the invisible. Well, a lot of the dimensions are beyond our physical seeing, but then there's also all the things that occurs in consciousness behind what we see physically. But this, when I read this, it all made sense, and it all goes right along with science, even though his ideas he wrote back in 1934, way before science was talking about quantum physics and Einstein's ideas of relativity and all of that stuff. But it goes right along with it, because he believes that the 4th dimension is actually the dimension that is the realm of freedom. It's, while things are still in the realm of thought, they're in this invisible realm of thought before they manifest into something that appears to be physical. The 7th dimension is what he calls the universal mass. When I think about the Big Bang Theory, I'm thinking that's right. We look into space and we see these areas of just mass where stars are formed from this mass of stuff that's in the universe that scientists talk about, and they see the formation of new stars coming from all of this. But it is this cosmic cosmic force, this mass of everything. It's the allness is what it is. And then he believed that the dimension that came from that was the idea of motion, change. And as we have heard from many speakers, and we know this within ourselves too, that transformation doesn't occur until there's some change. Transformation of anything, whether it's a physical object from ice into water, into, it goes through the steam, and then it becomes nothingness, and then it moves out into the atmosphere, and then it goes into the ethers of space. All of this doesn't happen until there is a motion. The next dimension would be the division of that cosmic mass, the allness, into individual things, particles, which scientifically we see them forming as atoms and molecules and what later on manifests into beingness. It all, when I looked at it that way, it just made such sense to me scientifically. And it made me be able to look beyond this, I'm right and you're wrong. Different political ideas, different ideas about anything. I'm separate. Your ideas are different than mine. I thought it's ridiculous. What Emmett Fox talked about is when we move from the realm of this allness, this universal mass, into manifestation, that is moving from the allness into manifestation. And that's called creation. But when we move in the other direction from where we are now, eventually we will be again into this realm of the invisible, and we will again, the molecules of our physical body are going to dissolve, and we're going to go back into the ethers, and we will return to the universal wholeness and oneness, and that is called resurrection. So it's all a perfect system. We always have tomorrow. We're going to be here forever. So we might as well be aware and conscious and be ready to manifest this allness and this goodness of life and forgive our neighbors and love our neighbors and feel like the universe is supporting us. I see so many people that are not part of the Unity Church, dear friends, that I see are so mistrustful and feel like they can only trust themselves and their family. They don't realize that the universe is supporting us. All is in divine order, even when it doesn't look like it. And so recently, my most recent challenge is finding out that Sandy is going to be having surgery. And I thought, oh dear, we're going to meet with a surgeon. He's going to tell us, yes, Sandy needs surgery, or no, Sandy does not need surgery. And so we're going to know exactly where to go from there. Oh no. It wasn't that simple. It was, okay, well, he could have surgery now, or he could wait, and probably this will happen or that'll happen. And I think my first thought, and Sandy and I, when we talked about it, his first thought also was, oh, well, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or, hey, let's just put it off. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But then in my own mind, I thought, well, of course, it has to be his decision. But I'm thinking about it from my perspective, too, of course. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to have a whole lot to handle, the farm, single-handedly handling the farm, and how am I going to do that? And I thought to myself, you know what? When things appear in my life, and I have already made the intention that I'm going to be a peacemaker, and I am going to choose to believe and act as if I believe that all of this, all the unity principles are at work, and truly the universe is a benevolent place, then I'm going to choose to believe that whatever is placed on my path is here for me. And so I thought, you know what? Maybe this is being placed in our path for a reason. Maybe we should pay attention to this. we met a wonderful surgeon that seems to know his stuff and has good credentials. And he has this chance to fix something before it might be broken, and it might be broken a month or two from now. Maybe this is the universe's way of helping us so that we don't end up in a catastrophe where suddenly we're in a crisis. And I thought, we need to pay attention to this. Just like I paid attention to the fact the Lord's Prayer ended up on my doorstep, and I might want to pay attention to the words that are in that and figure out what that means to me today. Things that come in the mail, I pay attention to them. Is it something coming because I might gain something from it, or is it something that's coming because maybe I need to help somebody else with their abundance? I try to pay attention to what's in front of me these days because I think the universe is a benevolent place and it's trying to help me. So that's kind of where I am today with this. I want to close this by reading this prayer that I found. After searching for it for so many years, I wanted to share it with you. And what this is, it is the Lord's Prayer in a metaphysical interpretation. And it's using the 12 powers. Each of the phrases of the Lord's Prayer contains one of the 12 powers. And bear with us as we're reading this because I'm reading from a copy of the original copy I had, and it's written in Old English. So we're dealing with reading Old English and my eyes being what they are.
Our Father,
giver of life and creator of all,
which art in heaven,
the elimination of all limitation and imperfection.
Hallowed be thy name.
For thou art divine order and wholeness.
Thy kingdom come.
With strength and quietness and confidence.
Thy will be done.
According to thy divine wisdom and perfect judgment.
On earth as it is in heaven.
That our love shall be as thine is, total and unconditional.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And power to attract from thy infinite substance all that we need, both visible and invisible.
And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors.
With zeal for both justice and mercy.
And lead us not into temptation,
but to faith in thee and thy guidance.
but deliver us from evil.
That our imagination shall envision only good.
For thine is the kingdom,
And we find understanding as we seek thy kingdom,
and the power,
which we share when we make our will truly one with thine.
and the glory forever.
As Christ, which in us is our glory, abides with thee forever.
Amen.
And so it is. And before we go any further, Bonnie has asked me to honor our graduates. And even though our graduates are not present, I would like to make mention of them and just honor them in my heart and have you honor them with me. And our two graduates this year are Preston, Erica's son, who she mentioned earlier, who will be going off to college, and Sophie, Daniel's daughter. And what I would like to say about these two wonderful young people is that they had been part of our Unity Church. And so they will always be part of our Unity Church and part of our hearts. The wonderful benefit of working with the Sunday school is that I have worked with quite a number of children over the years, and some of them have been children that have come in as young children and stay with us straight through until they graduate. And some of them are children that have been in our Sunday school for a shorter period of time and that have moved or not continued to be part of the Sunday school, but it doesn't matter because they've been part of us and will always be part of us and are connected to us. One thing I would like to make mention about Preston is that I saw him. I had the honor and joy of seeing him last week. The YOU got together at Cece's Pizza, and Preston came and was part of the group. And I hadn't seen him for a while, and because I don't see him very often, he always looks different, but I'm always astounded at what a wonderful, good-looking young man he has become. And, oh my goodness, so able in so many ways. Erica always keeps track of him and lets me know what he's into. And goodness, for all the many accomplishments he has had, you all would be so proud. Ask Erica sometime and let her tell you all about the things that Preston's doing. But what I remember about him is it was my first year of teaching Sunday school. And so we had all the kids downstairs, and they had a teacher before that, but I was a different person, and I believe that children should sit in their seats, and we were going to have a lesson, and we were going to do the prayer, and then we were going to do the lesson, and we were going to sum it up, and we were going to do the art project. So, I was trying to get the kids all to sit down in their seats, and so I would be on the part where we were doing the blessing or the lesson or something, and hard to believe this, but these chairs would start to move through the Sunday school room. The kids would not get out of their chair, but Preston was the ringleader. And he was moving his chair. You would never think that this perfectly behaved child would be doing this in Sunday school, but he would be moving his chair around, scooting his chair all over the room. And of course, Max did everything that Preston did. The two of them were, it was like the ringleader and then the follower, and then everybody else, of course, following behind that. So anyway, I just chuckle when I think about that and seeing this perfectly accomplished young man now. And what I remember about Sophie is she was with us in her younger years, but then the family moved, and so they were out of town. But occasionally she would be in town and would be visiting Daniel, and sometimes she would come down to the Sunday school room. And one of the times was at Christmas time, and we hadn't seen her for quite a long time, and there were several other children that were part of the Sunday school that didn't come on a regular basis but would occasionally show up, and Christmas was one of these times. And there were three of the girls, and they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and all of them were comparing their hairdos and comparing their dresses and all. It was so wonderful to see these kids and see the joy in their hearts and how happy they were to be downstairs in the Sunday school. It had nothing to do with anything I was teaching them. They were just joyful to see each other, and it was just a joy to see them being happy. So that's really what I just have. It's a fullness. It's a fullness seeing these kids grow up and be our next generation and our leaders. So I'd just like to honor them and know that wherever they are, that we will be holding them in prayer and envisioning only good and seeing them as our future.
So now we are going to be singing our pre-meditation song, which is One Presence. There is one presence, and one power in my life. There is one presence, and one
And now is our time for meditation. So become comfortable in your seats and close your eyes if that is comfortable. And become aware of your body. And if you are feeling any tension, allow your body to relax. And the same with your mind. If you have thoughts and concerns, allow them to relax. Let go. And for a little while, we come apart. And in your mind's eye, with your eyes closed, we see beyond the three-dimensional life that we have in this here and now. And we see beyond into another dimension. We look and see beyond these three dimensions, knowing that all these other dimensions exist. In your mind's eye, in the darkness of space, allow your heart to open and your mind to open with understanding that not all that is real is visible. In your mind's eye, see beyond the three dimensions to that time and area of freedom. Where nothing is restrained and all mingles together. And in your mind's eye, go into another dimension where instead of separation, there is only unity. That dimension where consciousness becomes individual, but it also is oneness. It is never separate from the whole. And in your realm of understanding, open yourself to knowing that beyond that dimension is motion or change. Change leads us to transformation. And as we travel through transformation, we become as we always are, as part of that individual, that oneness, that cosmic mass, that allness, God. In God, we live and move and have our being. In your mind's eye, look beyond and know that truly there is oneness, there is allness, there is God. And as we return to our consciousness of this room, to our life here on planet Earth in Lynchburg, as part of this spiritual community, we carry those ideas, knowing that no matter what our challenges are of today, that we can choose to look beyond this, to see this invisible dimension of reality. We are always part of the wholeness. We are always in the realm of possibility. All is in divine order. And we say, thank you, God. Amen.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. In our prosperity statement, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. If you've been inspired by today's service, share your blessings with us through your love offerings. There are 4 ways to give. Click on our PayPal, or you can use Zelle. Checks can be sent in the mail, or for those in person, we have a basket in the back. Now please join us in blessing our gifts. Through the Christ consciousness within us, we dedicate the gifts we give to bless our community and our world. We want to stand and sing our peace song together. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that is meant to be. With God as Creator, united all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. dance with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. So thank you for joining us today. Make sure to join us afterwards in the Namaste Cafe for fellowship, and tonight at 7 p.m. on our Zoom discussion of the message. And we will close with something wonderful.